I hope not.
Hello, everyone. This is Stephen Williams. They call me the Good Bishop. I'm hanging out over here at Simply Soul. These young millennials have me out here in the rain.
Love it.
And didn't want to do this via Zoom, so we're doing a part 2 tonight of the Behind the Veil podcast, dealing with our millennials and asking them some serious questions, or maybe not so serious questions. I don't know. And I'm stuck in here because I wasn't even supposed to be getting stuck in this tonight. But I am excited to be a part of this. Right here is the most beautiful.
Oh, thank you.
Oh, Lord.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it. Greatly appreciate it.
Miss Sprinkle.
Hello.
That's Thomas. This is Joy. And sitting over in the corner is Sonny Miles. He's hanging out with us today. And back over in the corner, we got some other people hanging out with us tonight. They just chilling.
What up?
Hey, y'all. And it is going to be an interesting night tonight. You all asked for a part 2. So here is the part 2 of this. Now, you know how we do this. Before we get into the discussion tonight on our part 2, we always come up with a song. Now, again, this is song number 2 this week, but this is a special event because we were going to do this together and do it live. But Sonny Miles did a demo, so this is a song. None of us can hear this song, but this is his jam, and it is being debuted tonight. Like nobody has ever heard this, right? Nobody has ever heard this. And so that's what's up. Wait a minute. And none of us can hear it either. So and so tonight, I want you to enjoy this song. And this is a second song of the week. Here it is, coming from Sonny Miles. I think it's called Freeland is what he called it. This is his demo. Y'all check it out and see what you think.
Say. Oh, that's a show.
Like an old print. New cameras, eyes on me when I want. I feel damaged. These got their own scripts. Failure in deep in control, but he don't slip. Say, tuning, reaching for some white hype. I've never seen the eye of an I-beam think he'll turn me into Mike if he gets a bite. I got some free land, I'll make him pay to park a bike so he can ride to this. Couldn't care if he could ride to this. Imagine Pops getting high to this. They deceive me by telling lies. Oh, now I see it's just more disguise. Think about my own tip.
That is from Sonny Miles. They in healing, they vibing to that new jam called Freeland. And so y'all go check him out. And we're going to talk about this before we even move forward. What I wanted to do was make sure the last time that we talked, people wanted you all's Cash App. Some people wanted to support the youth. And so I want you to give out your Cash App so that we can put this into the system for anybody who wants to be able to. And we'll start with you, Jamia.
My Cash App is $ Jamia Sprinkle, and that's JAYMIASPRINKLE. And I appreciate it in advance.
Got you. My Cash App is $ TISPRINKLE. 628. And I also appreciate anything in advance. Anything is welcome.
My Cash App is $, JOIJETER, and thank you in advance.
My Cash App is Sonny Son, SONNISON, and the $. Thank you.
Thank you all so much, and we're going to get right into this conversation. I'm sure it's a lot of things that we can go. I'm actually supposed to be just co-hosting, and Jordan, Sonny is supposed to be doing some stuff. I got a few questions. We're just going to start the questions off, and then I'm going to let y'all vibe and talk really from a millennial point of view. And I'm going to slide this over in a minute, and y'all can just go with this. And I'm going to start this whole thing off. And this is just something because he's here. All right. So I wanted to initially jump the conversation off with, does listening to R&B, hip hop, all that mess with your listening to worship? How do you vibe? How do you get into your worship? Or is there a conflict? And I just want to start off on that because I know we had talked about having a relationship with God and knowing how to tap in. But then is there equal thing when you do your R&B? Do you equally do your R&B and whatever? Or is it hip hop? What is it that y'all listen to? And does that jack up the worship piece? Or can y'all do it in how y'all feel about that? Who wants to go first?
I'll go first.
Okay.
So I would say, so I sing, so like I'm very into like all types of music. If it's good music, it's good music. Like Sonny's not necessarily gospel, but I love his music. I love his craft. I love his work. I don't believe that God would give us a gift for people not to engage in whatever our gifts are. I feel like too much of anything is not good for you. So I definitely feel like you should have a balance, but I don't think it affects my worship. I do feel like if I listen to too much of anything, it could affect maybe my thought process. But that's too much of anything, though, I think. Like, if you're around so many people that are doing things that, you're not supposed to be doing, you're going to end up doing things that they're doing. But I don't think it's anything wrong with having that, like, variety, that balance. I think you need that balance. So.
I'm ready for this one. Go ahead.
Oh, no, she said everything I wanted to say. You can go ahead.
All right. I definitely agree with Joe. You have to have a balance. And a lot of the older seasoned saints, they don't understand the balance that we have, honestly, because we have to have something to keep us sound. And if we can't listen to gospel music at the time to keep us sound, because that's not the mood that we're in, we have to play the music of the mood that we're in at the time.
Wow.
So at the time, it may not be, I want to come to Jesus right now. Just being honest. It may just be, I want to sit in my room and vibe out to R&B music or hip hop music, or Jordan, for instance, his own music. So if he's not in that point in time to come to Jesus, it would be fake of him to come to Jesus in an environment that he's not welcome him into, if that makes sense.
I understand that. So you're saying it's basically it's according to the mood that you feel. And see, for my generation, the mood is tied into the balance of the mood is in the gospel music for us. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So whatever the mood is, we can find that in the gospel music. Like, we don't necessarily have to go outside. Now, wait a minute. That's some. I'm around a bunch of older generation people, and they vibe. And that there is the differences, I think, between the real churchized person, if you know what I'm saying. Yeah. And they want to make sure that they stay connected with that piece of worship and all that good stuff. Now, there are some people in my generation who split. And a lot of people do not have a problem with it. I just wanted to know how it affected you all. Yeah. Because I don't know if it affects my generation. I think, well, let me ask a question. Did my generation expose you all to that. Because to some people, that is hypocritical, right?
To some.
To some, I'm talking about my generation, right? To be on both sides,
To listen to R&B and gospel.
right?
So I'm gonna ask the question. So like I sing. If
Right.
I wanted to start putting out music, and this has always been like a battle for me because I've been in the church and people know me to sing at church, but that's not the music I want to put out. I don't feel like that's the music that's gonna get my point across of what I'm feeling inside of me or what I feel like I need to get on paper or get out in music. So does that make me less of a believer? Does that make me love God less because that's just the creative space that I'm in at that point?
Yeah, I mean, go ahead.
Yeah, that's real. That's real. When I first got to school, the entire group of friends that I had, we were all black artsy kids, and all the things that we bonded over were gospel music and like worship. Like we had genuine moments of worship, but in the same breath, we would like, I don't know what was hot in 2014 or 15.
What was hot then?
What was like hot?
I think what was hot?
OG Mako.
Yeah, let's go with
Something
him.
like that.
We'll go with him.
So I don't know. It's just a balance. I think there's a lot more experience. I think there's a lot of different moments of worship. I don't know. Sometimes it can just look like you said, vibing out. Sometimes it can actually be like cleansing your spirit a bit with gospel music. And I don't know. Other times you kind of just want to like, I don't know.
I think it's just like what you can relate to at that moment. Like with R&B, there's a lot of young artists, and me, I'm 22 years old. So say I'm heartbroken. If there's a 25-year-old female singer and she has a song about heartbreak, you know what I'm saying? Like, that's what I want to hear. Yeah, so I could just sit in my room and cry real quick and then go about my day. Like, it's not like, oh, I don't want to listen to gospel, or oh, I can't worship right now. But it's just, I don't know, like they say, it's all about balance. Like, you don't have to listen to gospel 24/7, and listening to R&B doesn't make you a hypocrite. Like, there's a lot of things that go on in the older generation that can be a lot more hypocritical than R&B, you know? So
Certainly.
I
think they just pick and choose.
Yeah,
kinda.
I just think that like people make like, I'm gonna say Christianity, but I think they make this whole religion thing deeper than what like God is looking at it as. Like, I really don't think He cares. Like,
Let's
I
unpack
don't think
that statement.
that's what matters to Him. I think He cares about how we treat people. I think He cares about the image that we portray to people, because we are the tangible things that people see that's closest to God or closest to Jesus. Like, we are made in the image of Him. Like, we are supposed to act like Him, move like Him. You know, everything we're supposed to do is to be like Him, but that doesn't mean like nobody's going to be perfect. And I really doubt that He's up there stressing that like we listening to, you know, like, I just feel like people make it so much deeper than what God is really thinking of it as. I really just think He wants our hearts. And really, if your heart is pure, you can listen to whatever you want to. Like, you good, because you're going to produce whatever's in your heart. So, I mean, I could listen to whatever, but if I know that God is in my heart, like His word is in my heart, like, I'm always going to be the image of Him. And whatever I do, I mean, you do have to be wise about what you put in your spirit, but I really highly doubt that that's very important to Him.
Does that translate? Does that translate to, in your mind, does that translate to any and everybody? Do you care? Do you care if your pastor's in the same club? Do you care if your pastor's in the same, doing the same things that you're doing, and then you come back on Sunday and they are teaching you something else about getting closer to God? Does that matter to you, or is that a part of, is that just how, or is there a standard for some people and then not for others? Do you understand my point?
So I definitely think nowadays we hold pastors, ministers, anybody to a higher standard of that sort, because we see you guys as the first thing to God, because you guys are up there giving His word, and it's like, so if we see you, if somebody was to see you in the club in that atmosphere, jamming out to let's say a Lil Baby song, we can be like, whoa, hold up. You about to be up here tomorrow giving a word, and you in here jamming a Lil Baby. I don't know. I think like once you hit a certain level of how can I put this? A certain level of certain relationship or pedestal. There are some things that cannot that we think cannot be allowed, but by any means I honestly think that pastors do listen to more than just gospel music, because I don't believe there's no way that anybody 24/7 can listen to just gospel music. That's just my belief. If you can, I need you to mentor me a little bit more on how to do that. Honestly, because I can't do it.
I mean, and my craft, that Sonny is probably the closest thing that I will get to secular music.
Yeah.
You know, because like you were saying, the mood, I can't afford to make my mood go anywhere.
Yeah.
You understand? So I have to keep my mood in check.
Yeah.
Which means I don't listen to it.
Right.
I don't purposely sit.
But it's personal relationship with God.
And that's what I'm saying. I'm saying it is exactly that. It is absolutely personal. I just wanted to know how you all, as millennial, felt like, because I wonder. I wish I had more older folk, because I wonder how do they feel about that statement, because
they would probably be mad.
I mean, you know what I'm saying?
They're going to be
They're
mad
mad
because,
now.
They are mad just because of that statement.
I don't mind
They're
my
not mad.
pastor.
You don't mind your go
I
ahead.
don't mind my pastor listening to R&B in his car in the comfort of his own home. But if my pastor is in Greensboro at the club listening to R&B, it's a problem. Like, you can listen to it at home. You can listen to it in your car, excuse me. But if I'm in a club and you're beside me, I think there's an issue.
I kind of disagree with that.
Yeah, well, you would because of what you just said.
I'm sorry, only because like I have learned, like, ever since I've really just dove into like my relationship with God, that transparency wins.
Yeah.
Like, we only put people on a pedestal that put themselves on pedestals.
Definitely.
Like, if my pastor is up there acting like, you know, like they ain't got no issues, then you got an issue, and I'm like, what you got going on? You know what I mean? Because in my mind, I feel like a lot of times pastors or anybody like in any type of leadership try to shelter the people that they are leading from what they're going through. But all of our experiences help somebody else. Like, it's never for ourselves. So I feel like transparency wins. If I know that you keeping it real, like, I'm gonna know, okay, so I know, like, I'm not gonna go to hell for just listening to this song. Like,
And I guess that's kind of where like the hypocritical stuff will come from, because like you said, if you're up there and you're acting like, oh, I only listen to gospel, I go to church, I go home, I don't do anything, I don't even breathe, like, but then you're in the club, then I would look at it crazy. But like you said, if you're being transparent from the beginning, then I'm like, oh, okay, well, you know, that's what we do on the weekend, so hey, do your thing.
not a club. I mean, that's kind of pushing it.
Just a
But,
stretch.
you know, because I do feel like when you're at a certain level and you have people's blood on your hands, there's a certain standard that God holds you to. So you definitely do have to move in a certain way, because you could like definitely lose lives by portraying an image that might not necessarily be good for somebody that doesn't know God at all. But I definitely feel like everybody should have that balance, and I definitely feel like transparency wins. So like being honest up front and saying like, you know, I ain't always been saved. Like when people say that, like I take that to heart, cause yeah, I ain't either. Like, cause you know, people play this role like they've been saved their whole lives, and they be the main ones getting caught up, like, in a whole bunch of
It definitely shows.
Interesting. So out of all of that, again, back to the question: does it? So you're saying doing that doesn't affect you tapping into worship?
No.
You don't feel like that bothers you by any stretch of the imagination?
I just got blessed like 3-4 weeks ago listening to Rick Dillard and Dominoes. You know what I'm saying? Like, you know, and I guess that morning I'm sure I was listening to like some rap music or something. So it's just in moments like I found myself being like, wow, love this music. Like I remember when I loved this music. Yeah. You know, and you can still feel a certain way. I think worship can also look different. Like worship doesn't have to necessarily be like this, all right, I'm on my knees like I'm praying 5 times a day, or like some sort of practice. Like it can really just be, what do you worship? What glorifies you? What makes you feel to a higher state, a higher consciousness, whatever that may be, because worship can be different for everybody. You could have like a martial arts person, that could be their worship. So it's different, but it's real.
Ooh, the way the millennials think, boy, I'm gonna blow up after this.
You might.
Wait a minute, just this one conversation at the gate, because it looked like, what they saying is that you go to the club and you dance. In their minds, they're okay with that. And not the pastor. No, we're talking about you all as millennials. You all as millennials. And again, this is just trying to open up the thought process of where you all are, and how the old, quote unquote, the older generation, whether or not we have more work to do, or what do we need to do in regards to a relationship. So that segue, let's deal with it. I'm not even supposed to be up here, but I'm getting ready to slide these questions over to Sonny Miles. I know it. I got to get up out of here because I already feel something. I already feel people fussing already. Don't be mad at me.
He doing that.
These are millennials, and this is how they think. Leave them be and let them work it out. All right. And so with that is, let's discuss this notion, since you all are talking in that same vein. Relationship versus church. What is the God relationship to you, and is it absent of the church? You understand what I'm saying? Is that a good question? Did I go too deep for you? Come on, let's go.
Hey, listen, I'm gonna tell you now, you about to lose a whole lot of people. I guarantee you that.
No, they wanted part 2. And so we were surface, so we gonna dig a little bit deeper. Is God the relationship with the church? Let's discuss it. Versus relationship. Is God relationship? What is God's relationship to you? And is it absent of the building of the church? In your mind, is relationship to God outside of the confinements of what we know as the church? In your mind as millennials.
Jordan, go ahead.
Okay. I don't know if I'm ready yet. I still.
All right. So I definitely think a relationship is personal. So you can't go to the church and just get a relationship, because it's just in one building. So if you go to the church looking for a relationship, you're gonna be like, all right, I got it there. Now how do I translate it at home? It's not gonna be the same, because you're having a connotation to a relationship with a building. A building cannot be your relationship. That
I
building
agree.
is not gonna get you in heaven.
I
It's
agree
not.
with that.
I'm sorry, but your relationship with God and outside of the four walls of the church is gonna get you into heaven. So if your relationship is going to church every Sunday, every Wednesday, but you're not following up on a relationship outside of those four walls, then what? You're lost. And that's where a lot of people are lost, and they tend to stray away from the relationship because they have it to the church instead of to God.
It looks like it's only less than an hour.
Hour and a half.
It's like
Now,
But is that where you develop that knowledge of that particular part of relationship? You understand my question?
Are you asking, does relationship exist outside of the church?
No, I'm asking, does relationship exist? Do you need the church to really how do you all view having to go to the church versus having relationship with God? There are a lot of millennials who don't feel like it's necessary to be in the building. You understand what I'm saying? Right? And they say, my relationship is not geared toward being in a building. My relationship with God, I don't need to go. I don't need to hear nobody. I got my own relationship. I mean, I'm just saying some. And for the older generation, and not even older generation, I mean, I know some people in their 30s, they really do view the concept that the church is necessary for the development of their relationship. I agree with you. your relationship is not, it can't be limited to the church. But we're dealing with a generation of people who saying, I don't need the church. You understand what I'm?
Yeah, for sure. I think in the same example you would give about the body, like everybody playing a role. I think church is probably the best example of like seeing that in a physical form. If everyone is in spirit and in oneness with like what they're supposed to be doing, what they truly feel, right? So I think with everybody being in tune, church is like a really beautiful thing. Like when the spirit goes up and there's just oneness, I think that's what God is. I think that's just like a unity, a real love. So I think church is a great example of where to go to see that, to practice that in some respects. I can't necessarily say that like church is the way that teaches you a relationship. I think church teaches you theory. If we had to look at church as school, like here's your history. This is what happened in the past. These are stories that shows you that like Jesus is like real and you know God is real. But other than that, all that can do is just show you examples. From that you have to take your own and like find a way to have your own worship, your own relationship. And that just looks so different. Like it's not, and I think that's the thing that I've really learned this year. Everything is so not linear. Like it's very interesting for everybody. You know, worship just looks so different. Going back to that thing. So however you have that relationship with God, which is really just being in tune with you and the gifts he gave you, it could be different, you know?
Is that piece, this ain't my question, but it begs me to ask the question. Is the giftingness, the gifts that you all possess, is that what you all view as worship? To be able to get to the core of who you are with your giftedness, with yourself, with how God made you. Is that the core of what you're saying, that's the essence of worship? Am I making it,
You're making it clear. Go ahead, Joy.
I can't answer.
I mean,
now, this is just your fault.
No, for sure.
There is no right or wrong in this moment. This is just where you all are. And let me preface this by saying that all of these particular young people grew up in church. Now, there is a sect of people whose parents did not bring them up in the admonition of the Lord and all that good stuff. And so I'm speaking to them from a standpoint of knowing that all of them have been introduced to this mechanism of what we call church, and where they are now, how they're thinking about that. And we're gonna dig in a little bit into that to see, did my generation, like with my son, did my generation jack y'all up by driving that? Because I want to really talk about that. But somebody was going to ask.
I'll answer kind of like the question you asked before about relationship in the church. I've just come to a place where I feel like church has been like pushed on like antics. Like you dress up for church, you make sure you lift your hands at this time, you make sure you run around the church, you make sure you shout, like you just, you know, you're gonna go out to eat after church. It's just like this. It's also like not genuine. Like it's all like, okay, I know I'm gonna go to church, I know I'm gonna make sure I look nice for church, you know what I mean? But then we miss the whole thing that like we supposed to do, and that's go and like get the word and really like feast off the word during the week. Most of us just go just because, you know, you supposed to just go, like you know, you just used to going, like, and I feel like that takes away the relationship. Like Thomas said, like people associate relationship with God with going to church every Sunday, and that is not a relationship. And people are shocked right now because churches are closed, the buildings are closed, and the relationships are being revealed right now.
Oh yeah, they don't
like,
they don't
and a lot of them don't exist.
Yeah,
And the sad thing is that it's the people that's like on the front line that are literally like being revealed right now.
That's running around
Right.
every Sunday. The people that's falling on their knees every Sunday.
Right. That's
And now they in their living room like, oh, what do I do?
Right.
Like I can't.
Interesting, just an interesting concept. I mean, again, this is when Millennials speaks. All right, this is part two.
I got you though.
Yeah,
for
yeah.
the worship one, I think if I don't know, everybody has an idea. Everyone's got some sort of like passion, some sort of goal that they can do really well. I think everybody has it. So that didn't come from you. It came from somebody. It came from something. So I think the essence of it is to tap into that. And I don't know, when you are focused on that, every example I've seen of someone who was in their purpose and walking in it, and we have seen their success or whatever, their legacy, they've just been intent on the gift that they had. So I think it's important to have a grounding in something, and I think that's why church is so important, because it really helps. You know, it really helps you identify, okay, this is something bigger than me. I didn't get this for me. And that's where you just have to learn how to, okay, wow, this is what you've given everybody. Let me tap into that. Let me take care of that. Let me figure out what you want me to think. And what did you expose me to? What is this world that I'm seeing? What have I been shown, like Joy was saying? Like, what have I only been exposed to? What are the roles that I've been limited to? So, you know, the world's a lot bigger, but church is still important.
Yeah, I think yeah, I'm probably going to make a major statement. You know, I was trying to avoid all this because I have a vested interest because Sonny Miles is like, you know, my boy, and so when he went opposite kind of what I had been thought, you know, to teach, right? Mm-hmm. And I'll tell you how I addressed that to the parents. And one day I was just in, wait a minute, I wasn't listening to R&B, I was in worship. You know?
Get that right.
I was in worship. And one of the things, you know, that God challenged me on, and I think I want to challenge this to the parents. One of the things that God really challenged me on, okay, was to deal with him in the context. He said, show him and allow him to be him. Mm-hmm. And this is what released me. He says, I am in who he is. He'll find me if you let him be who he is. Right. And that just like, I was like, wait a minute. I said, but he, and what? And he said, no. Shut up. Sit down. Allow him to find him. And I think that's been a part of the challenge in my generation. And because my generation before that did not really give us an option, you know, because when we talk about what we put on y'all couldn't handle what they put on us. And so we were never allowed to explore that. We were able to make choices, but it had to be Jesus' choices. I mean, you don't get no choices. You know, that's Jesus' choice.
And I think that's the barrier there. Like you said, like we discussed last week, you have to let somebody make their own mistakes and make their own falls and find who they are in themselves and with Jesus by themselves. Y'all generation always want to fix everything. You're like, I have to fix it, if not, because that's my child. Yeah. That is me. And that's an image of me, and it's good for y'all, but y'all have to let us do it our path. Because if not, then eventually we're going to resent you guys, and we're going to stray away, and we're going to do it anyway. Mm-hmm. Whether you say not to or not, we're going to do it anyway. Right.
Yeah, but I think what you guys are missing, it is where you are is no different than where we were.
Exactly.
You know, my generation rebelled, which is why there is this whole notion of like the generation before us, they were only strictly gospel, right? Then my generation came along, and there are people in my generation, 40, 50, 60, man, they don't hold the standard to our parents. Yeah. And so that's why I was saying, did we create this, what the older generation would consider hypocrisy? Did you learn that from us? Or is this just a part of the maturation of who you are as people?
What you said about how when you said that your generation also rebelled, back to what Joy said, transparency is very important. Right. So I feel if your generation, like, if you would have, like T said, when we're bound to make our mistakes, if you would have set us down like, oh, I did this, I went through this, and, you know, I don't want you to go through the same thing. However, I know you had to learn on your own. But your generation kind of has a way of acting like you never went through anything. You know what I'm trying to say? Like,
Yeah,
you
yeah.
never made a mistake and stuff like that. So then it's like, well, we're just going to go and we're just going to, you know, do what we want to do, kind of, in a sense. And then we'll learn for ourselves. Because y'all haven't always been that transparent. You know?
Yeah.
I don't know if I'm saying right. That makes sense.
I hope I've been more transparent than most, you know, because and I don't want to. I mean,
No, my mom was very transparent.
Yeah,
She
yeah.
was very transparent, but
but
for
a lot
like
of people may not have.
right,
I get
they
it.
might not
Yeah, I
have
get
had
it.
that, so they did have to they wanted to go out like, oh well, Miss Perfect over here, you know, she ain't never been through nothing,
Miss
so
Apple.
I can't really.
In the mic.
Oh, sorry. It's like, well, Miss Perfect hasn't ever been through anything, so I can't really go to her about anything. So I just have to, you know, make my own choices, and however the cards fall.
Okay.
So I'll say this. I feel like everybody has this thing of putting these expectations on people, this pressure of like being something that you thought that person was going to be. But nobody is responsible to hold the expectation of what you thought I was going to be. Like, I feel like as parents, y'all have this expectation of, oh, my child is going to be this because I did all the right things. But it's like, that's your expectation. And I don't have to live up to that. And the thing is, like, ultimately, like Sonny said, worship and relationship looks so different for everybody. Like, a person that was not raised in the church, their relationship is going to look so different than my relationship with God, where I know, like, you know what I'm saying? It don't matter how many times I'd have missed a Sunday. I know, okay, you need to get back in church. You know what I mean? I hear my mom's voice in the back of my head. But a person that's never been in church, their relationship has always been outside of the church. So it looks so different. Or somebody's worship may just be writing music or like writing down poems. Like, everybody's worship is in different forms because everybody can't sing, so everybody not gonna be no worshiper as far as singing. Everybody can't dance. Just so different. I just feel like everybody has these standards and these expectations for people. Like, I'll even say for myself, people have these expectations of me, like, because I was raised in the church and the image that I have out there is like, oh, Joy, like, she's always saying something positive, she's always doing that. And then I had a kid and it was like, you the Virgin Mary? Like, and it was just like, you know, like, I'm just human. But that's the expectation you had of me, and I'm not responsible for that. So,
Real about the hypocrisy. Great point. In dealing with that, I think this year is enough for us to all be able to identify it's nothing but hypocrisy.
Yeah.
And it's on levels. It doesn't have to just do with the church. Like, this is everywhere. In dealing with the church, however, I know I learned this from really more Catholic school people. I didn't learn this from like a lot of like Pentecostal or Baptist people per se. But like a priest, you know, inappropriately touching a young girl, sexual abuse. And like you start hearing those little stories that start dabbling in. You hear about the Pope being connected to something. It's just like, you see it in these people who think they're supposed to be so good. We learned in Bill Cosby. We all saw that mess, and like everybody from the 70s, 80s knew he was doing that stuff. Everybody in Hollywood knew it, and it all just comes to fruition. So I think over time you learn that the good influences aren't necessarily always so good, and you just have to. They just human. They just regular people. And I think a lot of pastors are still good. There's not, you know, I haven't had any bad experiences with hypocrisy, but I think there's a lot of examples out there. Like, so people learn, you know.
Boy, all right. I mean, I think these, where you are in your thought process, I mean, we have to respect where you are. Mm-hmm. Did we put a lot of pressure on you all to?
Yes.
Unnecessary pressure.
Yes.
Yeah.
I will say yes. I will say yes.
Tell us what that looks like in the mic.
So
you gotta lift that mic up so you can talk. Talk real good, Thomas.
So pressure.
You got two Jesus's name, Thomas and Isaiah.
Even that.
Even that.
Even there.
right.
Even there.
You already
there, like you said, with two biblical names, you would think that I would just be this my brother. You would think I would be my brother. But it was unnecessary pressure. Yes, because like you said, growing up in the church and people seeing you people outside the church seeing you go to church and you do good for people or something like that. And it's like that's what they expect of you. And it's like, well, now you put on that burden of expectation yourself. because you feel like you have to impress yourself and them, and you can't fall. You feel like you can't fall short.
Let's unpack.
Okay.
What is the expectation of yourself, though?
So, the expectation for
And this gonna be for all y'all.
Yeah.
Let's talk about that.
that, for real.
Let's deal with that. Let's deal with what is your expectation of you. Because I don't want us to walk out of here and say, okay, my parents did this and we couldn't live up to the expectation. But if you don't know your own expectation,
You can't
then
live there.
whose expectation are you living up to?
Definitely.
And you're constantly blaming it on somebody because they had one. But if you don't have one,
That's good.
let's unpack.
got you. So I would say I may be and probably my mom and my sister can attest to this. I may be the hardest person on myself. Like the hardest. Like even coming out of high school, I didn't get the offers I wanted for football. My mom pushed me to apply to Morehouse College, and I was like, I'm gonna apply because you told me to. But I don't really feel that that's where I am. And my expectation at that point was low, honestly, because I was like, I'm gonna be this big football star, go somewhere, go to the NFL, all this. I got accepted, and I went, and I was like, whoa. From there to there, my expectation for myself rose, and ever since then, I always believed that I told myself I was like, at the age of 25, 26, I'm gonna be somewhere in a career. I'm gonna be moved to Georgia. I'm gonna be starting a family and things like that. And coming like and my sister, I don't know why she puts this pressure on me to have kids. I'm not ready now. My brother, I see my brother, he has 4. I'm not ready, personally. But like I said, when I was younger, I was like, I thought to be successful, you had to start at a certain age.
Yeah.
That's what I thought. I was like, you had to start somewhere at a certain age. If you don't start there, you're too late or you're behind. So I think I hold myself to like a high standard. Even when I got so I started doing stuff and I applied for a car, and I was like, I'm never gonna get this car. I got the car, so I was like, all right. So now I gotta raise the expectation a little bit higher. And then I was like, you know what? I'm about to shoot for the stars. And then my cousin, we applied for an apartment, and I was like, we about to get this apartment, whether what's gonna happen or not. I'm getting this apartment. I don't care if we got to move from. We was gonna move to Charlotte, and I was like, all right, if we don't get in Charlotte, we're going to Greensboro. But I had to get out of Winston, out of my comfort zone, to grow, because my expectation for myself was a little higher than the year before.
Joy, we'll come to you, and then we'll come back, and then we'll come, because I don't want you all to walk in this notion of this thing of parents. We create these things for you because we have insight to your giftedness and ability. We've been watching you, but what I'm finding out is we can see it, but the problem is you all feel like we become hypocritical because we expect something, but if you don't expect something out of you, then you basically are living under our expectation. Does that make sense to anybody? Because if you're not living, if you don't have an expectation, then you're floundering. And we can see you wasting that giftedness. And so, again, what is your expectation out of you? Like where you are now? What do you see? What do you want?
So I think that majority of my life, so when I'm 24, probably like 20 years of my life, I lived under the expectations that my parents had for me. Everything I did, I wanted the approval of my parents, especially my mom. Like, wanted the approval of her. I wanted to make sure I was doing everything like the way she wanted me to do it or whatever. And then now it's kind of like, okay, now I'm a mama. Like, okay, so what makes me happy? Like, what do I really want to do in life? Because now I've wasted 23, 24 years of, like, doing everything that everybody else wanted me to do. And so I think it's so dangerous because we get so wrapped up in the pressures of what our parents, like, want us to do or what they expect out of us that we forget to just create our own reality, to create our own goals, to create our own, like, finish line or whatever, wherever you want to get or whatever. So I know that was, like, my downfall, just, like, letting that pressure just, like, hover hover me like a cloud. And now it's just like, okay, like, I know you want me to do this, but life done hit me a little bit different. You know, I have a son now. You know, it's gonna take me a little bit longer maybe to finish school, or you know what, I think I might like to do this, or I might like to do that. You know, just really coming into like who you are and understanding like who you are and whose you are. Because I'm a firm believer that if you do not know like the promises that God has over your life, or if you do not know what God says about you, you will never know anything about yourself. Because I will like get in my head and I'll say like, oh, I'm not here, or I don't feel that good about myself, or I don't feel like I'm in a place where I'm supposed to be. But then like God will bring me back to his word and tell me like who I am. Like I'm the head and not the tail. Like I'm above and not beneath. Everything that he tells me, like sometimes you forget it when you get so wrapped up in these expectations that other people have for you. But like knowing what God says over your life, or like knowing who God says you are, and then aligning your expectations or your goals or your dreams or whatever with whatever he has spoken over your life. But if that makes sense.
It does. I think my expectations are turning personal, like my morals, like what do I believe in, like the good as far as what I'm doing, what do I want to do about my goals. Like personally, I want to get out of my mom's house now. I want to become self-sufficient, you know, with music and like make money. It's a little bit, you know, weird with Corona, but there's still ways I can sell merch. You know, I can find other ways to monetize. I think the thing that all of us are kind of mentioning is there's a serious self-criticalness that like all young people have. And the very nature of one asking, all right, well, what are you going to do when like you created the thing? We have to unlearn it first. And then we have to find. So I definitely had to unlearn. I've been unlearning so much as far as like why I feel like this. Where is this coming from? And that's a process. I don't think that process can be expedited until the child finally exits and like gets to some space, or maybe the parents leave too. You know, it depends. But first we have to unlearn. So please give us unlearn 15 to 20 years of be this. And then from there, I think once we know what we want to do, we can stop blaming, and stop projecting that as like, they did this to me. Like, I had to learn why this happened. It wasn't their fault. They were just trying to do the right thing. Yeah. And then from there, all right, this is what I want to do. Okay, this is who I am. This is what I feel. Yeah. Once you feel that, then you can then look at your parents and be like, oh, okay, they were just trying. Like, they're people, and this is what they were taught. So, of course, everything they're going to know is what they're going to instill. There just wasn't like a wisdom like we have now with the internet, and like there's so many other examples of things, so we have too much access to, I could do this. This could be a thing. Like, let me try that. Like, but it takes some time. You definitely have to unlearn. You got to deal with your baggage, and then you got to know what you want to do. Like, you have to start doing that, and then kind of stop blaming the people who made it after a while.
I really want everybody to, because I think you need this. This is going to be a part of the process for the millennials to understand where we are, because we are having you without you knowing direction. So we're having to provide direction, and now that direction feels more like a burden or an expectation, but we do it because I think we've done it because we weren't sure if you knew. Does that make sense? So if you don't know, then you're still going to get your parents trying to push you in a place where they think. Does that make sense? So, your time.
There we go.
Your turns.
Pretty much everything they said, but I feel like for me personally, I'm currently in that place of like self-critique and self-finding in a way. Like, I went to school, I graduated college, and now that I'm not in school, you know what I'm saying? I'm just kind of like, what do I do now? Which I know what I want to do. Like, I know what my end goal is. But it's like right now I'm in a place of just taking a breather and kind of just getting back to me in a sense. You know what I'm trying to say? Yes. And so I think to everyone else around me, it's kind of like, oh, you just got out of school. Like, you should be doing this. You should be working. You should be already going to med school, like, straight out and stuff. And so when I tell people, like, no, I want to take a second, like I want to take a break. They're like, oh no, you shouldn't do that. Like you need to go right to school. But it's like, no, like, you know, I just need to, I'm trying to like find me really. But I am my toughest critic. And so as I sit around after graduating college, it's like, okay, you're getting lazy. Like you're not going to go back. But I know it's what I want to do. So I'm just kind of,
what we call decompressing. And the decompression to us look like laziness. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. It looks like you don't want to. It looks like you've lost the drive,
and that's unhealthy. And that's so unhealthy. Right. As someone who's going to look at their child like that. That's not healthy. Because again, that's creating another space of you're doing it. It's another space.
Right.
And then don't forget about the child. They just came, and I'm with you. I'm with you, Jamil. Because when I got out of school, I was like, sweet. All right. I realized, oh my God, I went to elementary school where I was told to go, but I wanted to go. Middle school, same thing. High school, my friends are here. I'm gonna go here. College, are you going to school? Like you're gonna go to school.
right.
It was not an option.
You're gonna graduate. Option. So I was like, bet. All right, bet.
Like I did all of that. Like
and you do it all, bro. You do it all.
Everything
you
right.
Do it all, bro. And
what you about to do?
Right.
I literally was just in school from 5 to 22. Like, give me a minute. Like, let me
breathe. Let me see what this gonna do. Like,
and you're gonna get it from your friends.
You don't keep going.
Say that again.
No.
Oh no! It's like if you don't keep going, like okay, say you want to go to PT school or PA school. I want to go to PA school, and so it's like when you get out of undergrad, if you don't keep going right then, it's like oh she's not gonna do anything. Mm-hmm. She's not gonna go nowhere. And then for quarantine, you know everybody's sitting around, so I'm like, let me just pick up a new craft. I started doing nails, and I had people like, oh you doing nails? You're supposed to be going to med school. Why are you doing nails? You're never gonna go back to school. And I'm like, leave me alone. Leave me alone.
I think what helped me as a father is that I saw a passion. You know, once I saw the passion, Jordan would probably tell, I guess I can call him Jordan. Sonny, he'll probably tell you, I don't really bother him. I don't give him no grief about when you're going to do it, how you're going to do it. I used to think that, but when I saw that he had a craft, and when I saw he had a direction, then it was, now his mama may not feel like that, but I think he can honestly say, I don't bother him. You do what you do, if that's what you're going to do. But once I found out that he had a passion, and I think that's what drives the parent. We are nervous that if you stop, life has a way of happening, that if you don't keep moving, life itself has a way. I'm not saying it will. Right. I'm just saying life has a way in experience. Because I'm going to make another statement of why we do that, all right? Life has a way of making you miss your dream. And a part of the drive that you're getting from this older generation, they don't want to tell you, is because we missed our dream. And we did something. And we are in a place of disappointment.
In yourself?
Yes. So they are pushing you so that you don't get disappointed in life, which leads me to this question. How do your generation, because a lot of y'all, a lot of y'all are going through this measure of depression and self-loathing and doubt and disappointment, and you're not even 25 yet. Can we unpack what you are feeling? Is that a pressure? Because you all have admitted, all of you have said, we put this pressure on ourselves.
Yeah.
And have you done this? Put this undue pressure on you that is causing you now to walk in an area of disappointment, depression, and if it is, what can you do about it? Because I know and I'm gonna let. This is where I'm supposed to take my exit on this conversation, because I'm throwing it out so that you all can have a good conversation about this depression, disappointment, and I want you all to deal earnestly and honestly with that notion of parental disappointment. Are you disappointed in the parents? Is that what's driving you, or are we driving you too hard? How are you going to deal with all of that disappointment, depression, or are you?
Okay. In the depression instance, I think just for our generation specifically, all of us are like 97, 95, 98. So that means
Baby.
babies.
Please don't put me there.
So did you have, well, I guess I couldn't ask this to them, but obviously it's rhetorical. They didn't have cell phones. We have cell phones. Yeah. At the age of 12, we were exposed to seeing a lot of people, different sorts of people, and over time it's grown into kind of distorting an image. And I think there's kind of like a loss of self-identity there to a degree. So I think that can be where like some depression can come from personally, of like, oh man, like look at all these other people, like, oh my God. Like, or like, you know, yeah, like people are my age doing greater things. People are 20 doing like, whoa, I wasn't doing that at 20.
I seen a 19-year-old on Twitter the other day, and she was like, I just graduated high school, and a few months later, I bought myself my own, and I think it was like a Benz truck or something, and I'm like, what am I doing? I was driving a Volkswagen.
I'm failing.
And so it puts like, I don't know, it puts you in a weird space, so to speak. So, yeah, I get what you're saying.
Oh, hello, guys. Hey,
What's up?
added
A person to the
praise
party.
God. All right.
You added somebody to
God
the
is
party.
I was out to eat some chicken wings. I was going to say
Were they
hello.
good?
Can we see them?
Oh, keep sliding, JJ.
Yeah. We almost.
Cool. All right, I'm just going. I sound all right? Ooh, yeah.
Oh man. But
Sorry.
I think back to the question. I think like Sonny was saying, we've had cell phones where we've been able to compare lives to our own. So when we see each other not do as good as the other person that's our same age, we put ourselves down and we go like, whoa, what am I doing wrong to not be at that point? Because we have mobile devices, and it's just our generation does it to ourselves. Personally, that's what I think.
Yeah. It's definitely social media. Like, sometimes I really just have to cut my phone off because I'll see so much stuff. Like, I'll have in my mind, I wake up in the morning, you know, affirm, speak my affirmations. You know, just all confident. Like, I'm about to kill this day. I'm going to run into some blessings. God going to open some doors, and we lit. As soon as I get on break, I done cut my phone on. I'm on Facebook. I'm on Twitter. And I'm just like, dang. Like, what am I doing wrong? Like, dang, I need to be a YouTuber or something, because what's going on? Like, don't nobody look like they struggling out here but me. But, it's just an image, though. Like, it's just a snapshot of a moment of somebody's life. And everybody has a struggle, whatever it may be. Because it may not have to be money. It might be mentally. Some people literally live off of social media and, like, getting those likes and having people agree with everything they say or laugh at their posts or, you know what I mean? Like, some people really drive off that. And I'm really good. Like, I just be sharing my little posts. Like, I don't need you to like my post. But then I'm looking at the same person that I'm like, dang, you know, what am I doing wrong? But really, they could be dying inside. And I know how that feels. Like, I know how it feels to be, I'm out here and I'm, you know, posting, you know, God's going to be with me through this pregnancy and God's going to take care of me and my child. And I'm dying inside. Like, I'm really like, God, how we going to do this? Like, but for somebody else, it's like they going through the same thing. And they like, she got so much faith. I had so many people message me during my pregnancy, like, you have so much faith. Like, I'm so proud of you. You're going to be such a good mom. And I'm like, what am I going to do with this baby? Like,
Can I ask you a question? So with that, could you walk us through what that is when you do decide to make those posts? Like, what is it? Like when you make a post, right, about like, what is it that it's like, I need to do this, I need to make this post? Are you like, what is that experience?
I think it's kind of like, really at the moment, I didn't believe that I was dying inside. I wanted to convince myself. Like, it was more so like, I'm going to keep posting this because, like, I'm going to convince myself that we going to be all right. Like, I'm going to be all right. I'm going to get through this. But then, like, I turned around and I had my son, and then it was to the point where I couldn't control my emotions, and postpartum kicked in. And then it was to the point, like, I'm not eating for weeks at a time. And so the reality hit me, you know what I mean? So I couldn't fake anymore. So I think for me, sometimes, like, the things we may post, or at least for myself, sometimes the things I may post, like, I'm really talking to myself. I'm really motivating myself. I might not believe it, but I done wrote it down, and I feel like I done put it out there in the atmosphere. And, I mean, it come back most of the time, but but, like, in that moment, like, sometimes, well, most of the time, a lot of people are posting stuff but dying inside. And I could say that for myself, like, especially just, like, even now in this whole phase of my life, like, I always just post motivational stuff, or like I'm always encouraging somebody else. But for me, encouraging somebody else encourages me. Like, to see somebody keep pushing, knowing like, dang, I know you got it harder than me right now. Like, and knowing that they can keep going, like, it really does motivate me. But sometimes, like, I'm just doing it, like, faking it till I make it.
But you had to sort of learn that.
Yeah.
That was your.
Yeah.
Right.
For sure.
Yeah.
I'm definitely going through that kind of crisis with social media. Like, am I posting this for me, or am I posting this because, like,
Right.
I need to retain, like, a brand, or, like, I need to keep up with people? So recently I've kind of been like, okay, let me just post this because I want to post this. Like, when I first got Instagram in, like, junior year, sophomore year. Like, oh, here's a picture of two, you know, like, whatever. Like, we're in school. So I think I'm trying to get back to that of just, like, let me post what I like. And then I also understand someone wants to see this.
Yeah.
Like,
But
remember.
what if what you like, right, isn't what your audience or your followers like, right? Like, what then? What happens to that?
I think you should be brave. I think for me, I would tell myself to be more brave. I would be like, all right, if you have this account, and though you have people that appreciate you, if you got 10 people who really, really appreciate you and they wouldn't care what you say, what you did, if those are the only 10 people that you got, are you content with that? Let's do it. And as long as it's not disrespecting anybody, you know, as long as it's not infringing on anybody's rights or violating that, I think we shouldn't think so hard about it. And that's just what I'm unlearning.
Yeah.
Like, let me just have a good time with social media. Like, Twitter too, Facebook. Just be what it is. You know, I'm using Twitter to, like, balance and, like, let's talk about some real things. Like, Lebanon for real. Like, now's a great time if you're in America, you know, you got some access. But also, I should be able to, in the same breath, tweet like, man, like, I just had this crazy breakfast. You know, some, like, whatever. Like, somebody else probably feel the same.
Right,
Retweet.
and it could.
Retweet.
Right.
That
No,
part.
good breakfast is this morning.
Look at that. Everybody have a good breakfast. That's crazy.
Absolutely.
Can't believe it.
That's real.
I guess in handling that, though, what are, like, active steps y'all are taking as far as, like, healing? I know that's been a lot of what, like, we were talking about. And, like, I guess we didn't get a chance to talk about that, but what are ways that, as we are kind of unpacking what we have learned from our parents, as we're not blaming them, right? But as we're finding ways to heal, like, how do y'all go about that? Like, what are ways you kind of challenge yourself to not be so critical, you know, to...
So personally, I've just started this thing. I've started writing everything down. Like, anytime I feel like overwhelmed, or I feel myself like not feeling myself or whatever, I started writing my thoughts down. Whether what's bothering me, I'm writing it down, or just what's on my mind. I write down what happened from the time I woke up to the time I'm writing, and even during I'm writing. And I've definitely figured out that's helped me get through a lot of stuff personally. Because when you're trying to sit there and you're trying to think things through, I think your mind has a way of turning things.
Entanglements.
A youth word now,
Entanglements.
entanglement. They're entangling everything and making it worse. So if your mind is making it worse than what it is, then that's what you're going to believe. So with me writing it down, it's like, whoa, it's really not that bad as what my mind told me it was.
It's like you're in your head.
It's all in your
You
head.
gotta get out of your head.
Whoop, that's me.
That's all I'm about to say.
I be in my head for
Speak
sure.
on it.
I have to try to, like, calm the overthinking and, like, being my own enemy in a way, you know? I have to get out of my head and just really, like, unpack things so I can really see everything for what it is.
Yeah.
And then begin the healing process. And I have a bad habit of not letting myself feel. I feel like to heal, like you have to feel everything. And I sometimes just try to ignore it, like, oh no, I'm good. Oh no, I'm fine. Let me just keep going. Let me busy myself so I don't have to worry about it. But you have to really let yourself feel, and then you can heal from that.
Yes, like I'm a Scorpio. We emotional. Y'all know us. Like I'm a Scorp.
Lord Jesus, help us, Lord.
No, like I'm super. Hey, chill out, chill out. Y'all gonna chill. Y'all gonna chill on this. But no, like we are super emotional beings. We feel deeply, and then for me, like that's just a spiritual gift I have to like feel deeply. I feel people's spirits. I feel, but that's because I pray. And I know when I'm beside somebody that's a stranger and they going through some stuff, God gonna let me feel it because he like, all right, I need you to tap in. I need you to pray. And like, I do it everywhere I go. It's so like, it drives me crazy because I wish I could cut it off. But like, that's me. Like, I feel deeply. But I have this thing of like, a lot of people don't understand that. A lot of people don't understand like being in touch with their emotions and like, really like feeling what that is. So I've done this thing of like cutting them off because people don't understand why I'm in touch with them. And like it is so real that like you have to feel everything, because I have this thing of like I'm fine, like I'll be all right, you know what I mean, like ignoring it, and then it resurfaces, like the stuff you don't deal with always come on back, like and that's real. So
it's the same thing that happens with your bills, right? It's like if you don't pay your bill, you're gonna keep getting a notice until you pay the bill,
or you going to the collector.
You know what I mean? And sometimes it's like, yo, I ain't got the money to pay the bill, and they're like, we don't really care. We still here to get this money.
They don't care.
Like, and I feel like art imitates life, right? So like things that we find in, again, like for instance with the bills, they also we can examine that as like a human function, right? It's like the things that we don't deal with will keep coming up until we call it a spade.
Yeah.
Right. And I think for me, and again, I feel like I might get in trouble with this. I just believe that God is individual. And I think however you interact with God is how you interact with God. I think it's very different for everyone. And I think because of that, I think how we again heal is so individual. And so for me, like for instance, one journey of my healing has been my friend and I. We watch Netflix a lot, and one show in particular we watch is called Black AF. And the show, a sort of like run on joke in the show is like everything if there's an issue with any black person ever, period, it started with slavery. And the point, like we would laugh about that all the time, like, oh my God, you're crazy. And I remember sitting in the back one day and I was like, yo, actually, it's really true. And that began this, I remember going on a spiral, and that basically, just to speed it up a little bit, like that basically brought me to this place of like, I have to understand first, one, that I'm not crazy for feeling what I feel. Like there's a reason for that. So like you said, like all of you said, like the first part is allowing yourself to feel it. You're not gonna not feel it.
Yeah.
So after that, I then have to ask myself, okay, what is my responsibility and what is not my responsibility? Yeah. Right? There are things that's like, okay, again, it's like, well, there is this system that is in place. There are these things that are intentionally designed to really keep me away from these, right? Like for instance, like an example could be your family could have a history of just like not having great communication skills, right? So it's like a part of that is habit, part of that is something you were taught, and so some of that is not your responsibility, right? That was going to happen with or without you. Yeah. And then there is the part that is my responsibility, right? It's like, okay, well, what do I have control over? That is within my power, right? I can, okay, cool. Yes, my family maybe doesn't have great communication skills, but that doesn't mean that I have to accept that as my truth. Yeah. Right? I can practice great communication skills, right? It's also that thing of like, well, I don't have to get into that, but it's just really understanding like what is your responsibility, what is not your responsibility, and I think that's just the beginning of, for me, what my healing process is. Yeah. Every day.
So what I guess in the last bit of disappointment, if you care to share, what's like the most? I guess you've already shared, but like, what's been your most disappointing thing? Like, what's been the one thing that you've been working on, like, kind of working over? Like, if that's open, if that's what y'all want to share. I mean, you were willing to share, Thomas, so I know that's like, but like,
you said was my most disappointing thing.
well, I was saying you already shared as far as like,
yeah.
yeah. So I was like, nah. But if y'all,
Yeah. I can share.
I mean, like I have like 30. It's like 30 things.
All
So-
right, like
Give me a
I got
second,
a whole
let me, like,
list.
figure out which one.
Let me pull out my notes real quick.
Right.
I think my biggest disappointment, I wouldn't say having my child, but in the space that I had him, like without his father, without a 2-parent home, without being married. I didn't understand the importance of like not having a child outside of marriage. Until now, that's my reality, and like that's just what it's gonna be. Not saying like he gonna have a stepdaddy, period. No, I'm just playing. No, but just not saying that my reality can't look different now.
Right.
But just knowing that, like, okay, it's okay. Like, what you thought your life was gonna be is something different now. And I think I beat myself up so much because I feel like my son deserves so much more. And, I say that, but then I was raised by my stepdad. And I feel like I got everything that I deserve. And so God is really helping me with that, because I'll like beat myself up because I'm like, dang, like my son deserved, 2 parents, you know what I mean? But God's like, I done already like made a way, like tap into what I'm doing for you now, you know what I mean? And so that's kind of like where I'm at with that, like just really trying not to focus on what I thought what was going to be, and like really channeling into this is where you're at now, and like I'm still blessing you in the midst of what you think is a mess, and I'm still like providing everything that your son needs, and not even just materialistic things, but just having examples around him that like I'm so forever grateful that he has, you know what I mean? So
That's a question.
Yes.
Just for you guys, like what is that? Like what is that thing that like we go through these crazy situations in life, right? And it leads us down these spirals. Like what do you, for you, because it's something I don't even know really the answer to this. I think I'm asking myself this question a lot. But like, what is it that keeps us sort of in these mental spaces, right? It's like we know, right, to a certain degree, there were certain things that we went through before that we got out of, that we sort of persevered. But then like those new things come, and then we like get in that space of like, I don't know about this one. Yeah, it's not looking good. I think this is it. I think I'm done. Right. Do you know what I mean? What is that? Like
I
what?
definitely think it's not having the answer. So I think like it's us. We always want the answer, and at a time we have these right here, so we feel like we can go.
Yeah, 'cause you can
to
get
the
the
phone
answer.
to the
Yeah.
phone. So when that thing comes up and we can't go to the phone to get it, we're like, whoa, hold up. This ain't what the past look like, and I can't go here to get it. So now what?
Yeah.
Now I'm shocked. So I think the biggest thing is us not having the answer.
And it not being right at our fingertips. You know what I'm saying? Like us having to actually search and, really dig deep for it. Like the fact that it doesn't come right then and there, I think that's what kind of holds us in that space as well.
we don't want to go through the process, like, because it's so ugly. Like, that's just what it is. And we want to put, like, time limits on stuff. Like, okay, this process is going to look like I'm going to go meditate, and then I'm going to go have brunch with my girls. And, like, half the time, you like, Lord Jesus, I'm barely making it today. Like, I done cried about 10 times, but, like, knowing, okay, that's okay. Like, that's just what today is. Okay, we're going to try it again tomorrow. And then one day you're going to wake up, and you like, ooh, I got through that. Like, I really got through that. I really looked back and was like, okay, I did that.
I think for me it's comparing. Heavy comparing. I'm like always like, oh man, like look what they did, or like I was the kid that was always like reading what somebody else did at like a certain age, and I'd be like, oh, I gotta do it at a certain age.
Right.
I was like, oh my god,
Right.
So I think as you pass those thresholds, and as we mentioned before, like, and then you see younger people doing the things that you maybe thought that you should have been doing, it's like, oh man, I'm in this, like, so I think it's just kind of killing that comparison. but it's definitely comparison. I think that's what drives that for me, and I have to learn how to like kill that and really just like, all right, chill. This is your like process. This is your path. So I think it was easier for older generations to do that because there wasn't anything to compare it to.
Definitely.
Like my pops, he had 3 channels, so those are the 3 channels that you're watching. That becomes the expectation of what you're seeing.
Like I said, they didn't have the internet.
They didn't have the internet.
Twitter and people
Right.
posting their
They have to watch their
accomplishments
friends.
all day, every day. Like they didn't have it.
If in the 80s, all the people, like we can see in that generation, all the artists that like kind of looked the same and did the same things, if each and every one of them had like Instagram pages and stuff like that, I can only imagine.
I can only imagine what it would look like.
Like,
For us.
Yeah.
It'd be worse.
just the, like, right. It's like,
Yeah, and if we all agree the way evolution works, right? It's like the things that we figured a lot of things out,
Right.
Yeah.
right? Like we got toilets, we got you know what I mean? Like the roads are clean, you know. But there was a period where that didn't exist,
Yeah.
you know, and there was a generation of people that had to deal with that,
Yeah.
you know. And I don't know. I think for me, what is kind of helping me with this, or what I try to remind myself of with that is like, this is in service to like my nephew, right? To my nieces, right? Like we have to go through this. We have to, because I feel like our generation. I'm a little older than y'all, but like out my generation, and I'm not that older. I'm not that barely. P.O. it down. But that like our generation, we are the guinea pigs of this device.
Definitely.
Do you know what I mean? Like we also like we're the first generation to have computers in our classroom, the first generation to have tablets going home from school, right? Like all of this stuff, you know, and that comes with a lot of stuff. So for me, it's thinking about like, okay, cool. We have to go through this, and which is why I think conversations like this are so important, because it's calling the spade a spade. It's making these things so tangible that it's like we all have our own individual experiences, but we all have to deal with technology. We all have to deal with the social aspects of technology, and it's kind of like, okay, well, if we get through it and we learn some things, hopefully, you know, the people after us will just like understand. And I think that's what Gen Z is. They're so fascinating, man. They're so lit.
Gen Z is amazing. I sometimes wish I was Gen Z, and I'm not even gonna cap with y'all.
Yeah, dude.
Gen Z's
I wish I
amazing.
was sometimes.
Gen Z's amazing because
They don't care.
they don't.
The social media. Like the other day, I was having a conversation, and we were looking at the highest paid YouTubers. The highest paid YouTuber is 8 years old,
8 years old.
and it's like at 8 years old, I'm
Millions
just
of
on the
dollars.
playground. Yeah, like
Yeah.
I don't know. They're just on a different level from a young age. Like it's crazy.
Seeing how quickly Mackenzie got everything with technology, and to see at now she'll be 9, so how she was able to already do everything at like 6, as far as like
Yeah.
YouTube,
Yeah.
and like she couldn't search on like a Google, but like whatever her interface was, I'm just like, wow, you get it. And like
Already.
You figured it out.
and just like in language and like how she talks, like I don't get it. It's just like they're just quick. They're just so much
I
quicker.
feel like they're gonna invent everything. Like we have everything, but I feel like they're gonna invent everything. And people look at technology as like bad for them, but I guess it just depends on like what you're teaching them and how you're using it. Because like you said, she can do everything with her phone. And just imagine like it's kids, it's like breaking down computers and rebuilding it. And so you don't always have to look at it as a negative with the technology when it comes to them.
That's right. I think that was also kind of pushed too. Just like at least with us, oh y'all using all them phones,
Always on the
Yeah.
phone.
Why y'all on them phones? But like I had no idea 8-year-old was the highest paid YouTuber. That's crazy.
Yeah.
8.
Hey,
So
It's a really young boy. I'm gonna look it up actually because I want to be like completely sure. But he's young.
this was, as you look that up, this was the perfect segue. His last question is money or purpose the driving force?
Is money or purpose?
Is money or purpose the driving force?
He was 8.
I believe
8 years old.
I believe in calling things my newfound belief is that you got to call things a spade, right? The reality is we live in a world, we live in a capitalistic structure. I won't get into it, but we live in the world we live in is that like I can't exposure and experience doesn't pay my bills. Like I can't pay my rent isn't 800 exposures, right? It's not 800, right? It's not 800 purposes, right? It's whatever it is, right? So the reality is, I think it's the chicken or the egg, right? Or the chicken and the egg. One begets the other. I think. So, and again, if you look at some people, money gives people space to figure out what their purpose is, right? And then some people figure out what their purpose is, and that begets the money because you need it to do things. Since we all come from the Christian perspective, like let's not be fooled. Jesus, his entire ministry was funded, right? His entire ministry was funded. He couldn't do it. I mean, he was Jesus, yes, but he was also existed in the earthly realm, right? And the way things worked was that you needed money to make sure you had places to eat, or to sleep, right? For travel, right? To feed people, right? All this stuff. So, yeah, I think you can't have one without the other, if that's what if that's your thing.
I agree. Yeah. That's true.
What was the question again? Is money or purpose the driving force? Dang, JJ.
My bad, yo. My bad. I've been thinking about that a lot.
Why did we let him go first? That was a bad idea. But I definitely want to say, with our generation now, just from what I see, it's money. Like they say, I think money is what we think of first, and then we go to purpose. It's like, all right, once I have this amount of money, then I'll get there. Cause like I was like, all right. So when COVID came, I was like, all right. So the bill's gonna slow down. They gonna back off. I was like, nah. They was like, nope. I still need that. I still need that on the first. The first don't stop
Ever.
So if as long as the first keep coming around, I still have to give them their money. And I think we feel we can't get to our purpose, or we can't live how we want to live without money. So I definitely think money, with our generation, is the driving force.
Yeah, I think it is. I think it's definitely the driving force. But I have been like an example of when you truly walk in your purpose, like God will make the provisions that you need, like with nothing in your pocket.
Definitely.
So I mean, like literally, like literally.
I've seen.
If you truly tap into like whatever it is that God wants you to do, or whatever, and it may be money that people send your way, but I don't think that the drive has to be the money. I think the drive needs to be, okay, what am I here for? Right. Like, okay, so I'm supposed to be here to have these, I'll say for myself, to have these prayer nights and bring people together and, talk about what our relationships mean to us, or what does that mean for me. Then, okay, I don't know how I'm about to feed these people every week. I don't know how I'm going to put on these events, but if I'm walking in my purpose, God's already aligned all those things. Yeah, right. And I feel like if we truly believe that and truly have faith that, okay, this is what God want me to do. Don't nobody else get it, but like I know this is what He want me to do. He's already like connected the people and the dots and whatever you need to like make that purpose be fulfilled.
Definitely.
But we're definitely driven off money though.
I think that goes back to what about like us not having all the answers, because we want all the answers. Like we want to be so. All right, it's gonna happen this way. It's gonna happen this way. It's gonna happen this way. And if point B gets messed up, we think that we're not gonna get to point C. I think that's how we feel with that.
Yeah.
No. I mean, y'all basically said everything, really, but I think for our generation, like Joy was saying, if you look into what God wants you to do and not what you want to do yourself, then everything will begin to line up. I think we're like too much into ourselves, like, oh, I want to do this, I want to do that, I want to do this, instead of going to God, like, what am I supposed to be doing? What is it for me to be doing?
Perfect will, permissive will. Well, let's speak on that.
Things will begin to line up.
Say that.
He has His perfect will for our lives, and He has we have our permissive wills. We step out of line, He got grace. Like He gonna make sure we straight, but we can really like miss a lot of roadblocks if we really tap into what is it that, okay, like I'm not here for myself. Like He did not put me down here for me to be seen, like to get likes on Facebook or whatever, to get this following. He put me down here for some type of purpose. And if it takes me to the last day that I take my breath, I plan to fulfill that purpose. And the thing is, he didn't put me down here without the tools.
Yeah.
He got your back. Like, and that's just what it is. Like, if you really tap into that purpose, you miss a lot of roadblocks. And he's already got everything lined up for you. I mean, you know, sometimes we go out of the way because we get in our own minds, we get in ourselves. Like, we think about, oh, well, I want to do this. Well, a prayer group not gonna make me no money, and it didn't. Like, but it brought a lot of people to Christ that didn't even know him. So, like, that for me, that's a win. You know what I mean? Like, that's what. If I only need to touch 2 people's lives, I walked in my purpose. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, and it saved me from a lot of stuff. It kept me grounded. You know what I mean? So just like knowing that God has his perfect will for our lives, and then we have these permissive wills that if we get in our own way, know that you can walk in your own permissive will, but he gonna have grace, but don't abuse it because that grace runs out.
Right.
And like you keep abusing that grace because you in your own head, you about yourself and what you want to do, and you keep missing out on what God is telling you, then oh yeah, it's gonna be rough. Like it's gonna be a long road, yeah.
And we forget that it's already written. Like he already knows, you know what I'm saying, what we're supposed to be doing. We literally just have to fall in line. Like we have to fall in line.
Yeah.
That's it.
That's it. Ain't that crazy? That's it.
That's it. Like just fall in line and you can tap into everything.
Yeah. That's real.
I feel y'all.
Talk about it.
Because, like, I'm at that point right now. Money's starting to...
Talk about it.
All right. All right.
All right.
What's the motive? What's the motive?
Let them 2 fish follows the bread, brother. You better come with it.
I got my plate.
I'm waiting.
I got my plate.
Bro. I've been waiting.
Yeah.
I feel y'all. I mean, that's real. I think... Also, in some regards, I also think that you're right. You've been given the tools. I think the essence right now is like that whole side hustles. So I think maybe another step I personally want to take is like diving deeper into like, okay, could my purpose also be some like...
Right.
Yeah.
Other thing? Yeah.
You just got into nails. I have a great friend. She be banking off of them nails. And she teaches. And she just moved to Vegas. Whole new clientele.
Right.
And it's been, I guess, 3 weeks.
And she can
roughly.
do both. I think people forget that. Like I don't want to. Yeah, like
Talk about it.
I personally don't feel like your purpose is only tied to one thing. You know what I'm trying to say? Because, like you said, she's a teacher. Okay, she can reach somebody teaching, but she can reach a whole different person doing their nails. So I don't think it's just one thing that you can do, and you just have to only do that. Like, and I think sometimes people forget that, or maybe they just don't agree with that. But me personally, I don't think it's only tied to one area.
Or people tie purpose to a gift.
Right.
Like, oh, because people know I can sing. Oh, you supposed to be a singer. Like, you gonna follow your brother. You gonna do it. No, girl. Like, I mean, that's not, I don't feel like, well, okay, I can sing. I'll be singing at home. Like, I'm good. Like, you know what I mean? Like, people tie purpose to gift, and that's not always what it is.
Right.
Like,
Yeah. Well, I mean, I will say as y'all were talking, I was like, what is purpose? I don't even know if I understand what that means. Because, and truly, like, I think I have to ask myself that as a serious question, like, what is purpose? And I think the answer I would give myself is that I think for me, purpose has been, and this is a working definition, but like, it's like, it is the nucleus that again can be pushed to many different things.
Yes.
Right. So like, and I think for myself, if I'm being 500, like, I think I'm constantly in a perpetual state of figuring out what the nucleus is. It's like, it's like serving, I think. But like, I also like gotta be careful of what serving looks like because I'm also black. So you know what I mean? So like, that's like, you know what I mean? That can be problematic. You know what I mean? Like, I can be a server, but I do enjoy helping people. But I know I need things too. So you know what I mean? So it's like, it's. I don't know. I feel like I'm not really answering anything. It's just like, that's kind of where my head went whenever really that question was asked. It's like, what is purpose? And like, how am I being taught purpose? And And when I'm being taught purpose, what's the context? Right? Like what it's, so I guess for y'all, what is the context of purpose?
So what are you gonna do? That's what I guess I would be asked, and that was always insinuating, how are you gonna make that money? How are you gonna go about making money? So what are you gonna do? So I guess the purpose is, how are you gonna make money?
Fascinating.
So whatever that may be, like that answer may be to whomever may ask it. I had to find.
Right, we
that
gotta
answer
unpack
within
that
myself.
question.
Right.
Yeah.
So I had to like find out within myself. Okay, what do I want to do?
And I think that's where it gets confused with, is your purpose tied to money? That's where it gets like tricky.
Does it have to be for you?
But sometimes your purpose don't make you money.
For me,
Bills on the way home.
Like, oh, God, I swear I'm walking in my purpose, but Lord, I need some money.
I don't think it has to be, but like he said, when they think of your purpose, it's like, well, my purpose is gonna make me money, and so it's kind of hard to like differentiate the two in a way, like for some people, and so it's a gray area.
Is that something that we can learn from the older generation? Because it seems like they were like, for instance, like you see this guy, this thing went viral on TMZ with that guy from the Cosby Show. He was like the brother on the Cosby Show, and he was like working at Trader Joe's, and he was like, yo, I don't care about any of that. Like, my family gotta eat, right? Like, sure, my purpose, like, right? So it's like, that's something, but I feel like that's a constant thing where I feel like my mom and her brother and all of them, they know how to work, right? And then that gets them, that like somehow leads them back to the thing. So I don't know, that's very fascinating.
So I don't know if it's really a question, but I think like where I'm at is like getting out of my head that like purpose or success is tied into like having it all for myself, because like sometimes like I feel like my purpose is to like express who God is in like an unorthodox way, to reach the people that the church is not reaching, but that does not make me money. But sometimes he's provided things for me that I could have kept to myself and been like, oh, that made me money. You know what I'm saying? Like people may bless me with stuff for an event or something, and I could have gave them cheaper out and, kept it for myself, which it could have gave me money or whatever. But I'm a true believer that God does not trust people who will not give back to his people. So if that means that like you may not reach that point where you're making $1 million, you may have ran across $1 million and given $1 million. You know what I mean? So like, does that mean you aren't in your purpose because you aren't making, or what people would say, like making the money that you should be making from your gifts or what you're doing? You know what I mean? Like maybe it's that you're making this money to bless somebody else. Like, you know what I mean? Or supply for somebody else. Think about like nonprofit organizations. They make so much money and they reap nothing.
Right.
Yeah.
But they're in their purpose.
It's a blessing to be a blessing.
Right.
Yeah.
But God will forever take care of them
I
because
think
he trusts them.
You asked the perfect question.
Yeah.
You said success.
Yeah.
That's the key right there. I think for me, I always equated success to money, and like
You taught that.
without a doubt,
You're constantly taught that.
Without
and
a doubt.
not from parent, like from the society.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Society.
like again,
Yeah.
back to social media. Like all the quote unquote successful people are the
Have
people
money.
on there, right, that are rich. Like,
Right.
and so it's like it's all you see. Oh, sorry, it's all you see. It's all you know. Like, and so I guess it's just trained into our minds. But like Joy said, I feel like I'm gonna be successful when I have it, but I can bless other people. Like that's where my success personally is gonna come from. Like when I can go and I can build a homeless shelter, but like a fancy one. You know what I'm saying? Or I can just see a single mother with 2 kids, and I can buy her house and give her a job. Like that's where I feel like my success is gonna come from.
Yeah, Beyonce said, what, success, like, you can't call yourself, oh no, Jay-Z said it, you can't call yourself successful if you're the only one eating or something in your friend group or whatever. It's like, dad. Which is why I think purpose is tied, like, I feel like a vision or dreams can't really be realized if it is singular.
Yeah.
Right? Like, if it doesn't help someone else, then, like, I don't know if that dream is actually real.
I'm like, what are you doing it for?
Yeah, yeah. And I think that's what the Bible was talking about when it was talking about like leaving inheritance, like stuff like that, right? I think I always think about money. But it's like, no, are my dreams, my ideas benefiting other people, right? My values, do they include others?
Yeah.
You know, because some people can't give money, but I can give you this doctrination that helps you constantly think about other people and create space for other people in your world.
Yeah.
I don't know, or I could be wrong.
I don't think you can have success and be selfish.
I agree.
But what about Jeff Bezos? Like, let's get
Now
into
that's
it. Like,
fair.
that's like too much money, right?
Yeah.
Am I tripping?
It is.
Nah,
and
you're not
it
tripping at
keeps escalating. You
Yeah.
know what I'm saying? Like,
He's
it
about to
just
be a
keeps
trillionaire.
right. Yeah. But it's like, what have you done?
Because I
He's
just
like, I
want
remember all these
$5.
people get jobs,
Like,
but he's
what
working
have
them
you
like
done?
slaves. You know what I mean?
These warehouse jobs.
I can't say that. I was gonna say he got white people working like slaves. He got white people working like slaves now.
Careful.
I'm just saying, if they figure that out, they're gonna be mad. They're gonna be fighting with us.
They're gonna be with us later.
They're gonna be doing it with us. Lord Jesus. Come on, right. Come on, we tried to tell you, Tom. Well, listen. Come on. We tried to tell you. They've been singing
Yeah.
Kumbaya in the corner. Stop. Lord. Man.
But I like what you said, though. Like, it doesn't always have to be money that you can give other people. It doesn't have to be something physical. Like, it can just be that idea or that, yeah.
That intangible thing.
Right.
And I think that would be a lot more valuable than money. I think the intangible
It
is a lot more valuable than money.
is.
'Cause if I can give you something that'll help you, help somebody else. Because if I give you $10, you gonna get some food for yourself.
She gonna put it in the car. You know what I'm saying?
But if I give you wisdom, if I give like anybody wisdom or knowledge on something, you can
It's
go
gonna
fix it to somebody
last.
else.
Exactly.
That's gonna stick with you. So I think
Exactly.
the intangible thing is a lot more it's a lot more wealthier than money.
And that's okay. That's another thing that our generation has been taught. Like, seeing everybody on Twitter and on social media, and it's like, oh, I got a house, or I got this and I got this, but you can't even pour into my life. You know what I'm saying? Like, you want me, like, let's take B. Simone for example. B. Simone wrote a whole book.
Is that her book though?
About manifesting, and every page in the book came from somebody else.
She got in trouble.
Yeah, and so it's like everybody that bought this book was thinking like, oh, I'm gonna read page 1 through 15, and tomorrow my dreams are gonna come to fruition. But this didn't even come from B. Simone. And so it's like, you can give me the book, but if you yourself can't pour into me, if you can't give me the wisdom, if you can't help me mentally, what are you doing?
What are you here for?
You know, like. So yeah.
In a way, somebody could flip that, right? I'm just gonna play.
Devil's advocate.
Yes, devil's advocate. That was like, what is that word? And be like, well, maybe that's a way in, right? Because like, you know, again, somebody could also flip that and be like, Eazy-E said, all publicity is good publicity, and like maybe that's keeping bread in her pocket. And,
Right.
do you know what I mean? It's like, it's really. Yeah, but I think I mean, we think about it, it's like, oh shoot, like
That's smart, but that's wrong.
it's wrong. No, it's wrong. It's
illegal.
wrong.
Yeah. It is illegal.
But you know, people,
Very illegal.
people got different moral compasses. You know what I mean?
And then, like he said, you can flip it, because she went through all of that, and then the next week she did a free webinar on like the legal aspect of plagiarism. And so, like you said, it can be flipped. Exactly.
Right.
She
and
can
so
flip
then
it.
people get on there and they're like, oh my God, you know, okay, but I don't know.
Well,
Yeah.
I think, just to get back to the question, I feel like that's it's something that I think parents can relieve themselves of, right? It's like, you and it's something I'm thinking about, like when I have children, right? I'm like, well, what if I don't have like these 4 businesses to hand down, or I don't have that one thing to hand down, or what if I haven't done that thing that I thought I should do? Where my child can be like, yo, my pops did that, right?
It's not on what you already have.
Right. I know that I have stepped into a level of consciousness that I wasn't in before. Right. I've stepped into a knowledge that I didn't have that now you can have. And I don't know what that's going to look like for you but like I can give you that, and I think that's something that I hope my parents can they can trust that though our ideas may be different, our ideals may be different, how we go after things may be different. At the core of it, is a human being in the pursuit of like being better tomorrow than he was yesterday. Yeah. Right. And I think that is such like money can't buy that. You know, I definitely have friends who don't have parents like that. Right. And you know, so I don't know. Food for thought.
So we got a couple more minutes. Any, I guess, final words? Any words of encouragement to our fellow millennials, Gen Zers, peoples?
I would like just challenge you guys, because I'm gonna challenge myself, just to like really seek what it is that you want out of life, or that God wants for you out of life. And like be okay with maybe it not being what you thought it was gonna be, and being okay with it maybe not being tied to money or success as the world has defined it, and being okay that as long as I fulfill the purpose that I was put on this earth for, I'm good. And like not worried about what social media has put this pressure of us like being. Like take the pressure off of yourself.
I second that.
I definitely want to challenge everybody in our generation and the generation after us is just to take a step back and look at like what we've overcome in our generation in the past. Just look at like how much we've grown, how much we've took the knowledge that our parents gave us and multiplied on it, and how much we've made a step stool for everybody else, and even the generation after Gen X. So let's step back and be like, you know, we really are doing good out here, and let's not compare so much, like we were saying earlier, and not let's get so down on ourselves and mentally destroy ourselves as much in an aspect of comparison.
I'll definitely say in that same vein, grace, giving yourself grace.
Yourself.
Give yourself grace.
That might be the biggest word in there.
And your parents.
Literally.
And your parents, give them a break.
And I think that to me what that looks like is just like giving yourself value, and like, you know, seeing the value in the bad and the good, you know, whatever moment that it could be, just really giving yourself grace. It's not being so hard on yourself. And yeah, get Trump out of office.
Yeah.
Please vote.
Vote.
Anybody over 18,
You know.
anybody over 18, please.
Right.
Go out there.
Also, if you are in Winston-Salem, if you are in Winston-Salem, I have three things. I'll be quick. If you are in Winston-Salem, learn about the people you are voting into office. It's very, very important. That can be another thing, because I really want to get into it. Secondly, if you are a person of color watching this, I encourage you to again, give yourself grace and give yourself a break, because you made it to today. Third, I highly recommend this book. It has changed my life, and it is constantly changing my life. It's called A New Earth by Eckhart Tolle. That's all I'm really going to say on it, because it is such a powerful book, and I highly recommend it. Again, A New Earth by Eckhart Tolle. Great.
And then we want to give a shout out to Simply Soul.
Woo woo.
That's where we're recording today.
On a roll.
So right now we're only open on Sundays. But make sure y'all come get y'all Sunday dinner.
Come get a
'cause I know
plate.
y'all be tired of cooking. Right.
We got a
Get
Sunday
your Sunday
special.
dinner. Yeah, two meats.
Two meats, two sides.
And bread.
Or cornbread.
Mm.
Or a roll.
Yeah.
I'm so weak.
Y'all still got that way up there?
But also going back to the church aspect of the conversation, I challenge everyone as well to learn the difference between relationship and religion, and know it for yourself. Don't let anybody else tell you anything. Know it for yourself, and that's it. This is a great
I'm about to
conversation.
get you in my head when you say it.
Right. It's gonna be scary, but you'll get through it, baby.
Right.
You'll get through it, baby.
Last but not least, I gotta thank my dad
Woo!
for creating this space. You know, thank you. He's been killing it with the podcast, you know what I'm
Yes,
saying? So
sir.
y'all tune in. He's doing this weekly. Is it always on Thursdays? Tuesdays?
Tuesdays.
So, yeah, y'all, come through. And, yeah.
Thank you.
Yay.